What's up, everybody, wherever you may be, however you may be receiving this information? I'm grateful that I get to be here with you, and I'm grateful that you are here on this earth. It's good that you're here. Amazingly enough, Lent is less than 1 week away, and I'm in this interesting spot here for Lent this year. I've got 3 kids, 4 and under, 4, 3, 3 months old, and the 3-month-old is not sleeping all the way through the night. And sometimes the 3-year-old will wake up from time to time, and the working hours have just been different and unique. So there's just everything feels a bit messy and unpredictable here for this Lent. And so I've been really thinking about it. What am I going to do this Lent? And in talking with a number of people who are in a similar stage of life as me, I experience the same problem in them. They're like, okay, oh gosh, it's Lent. I'm already doing so much. I've already got so much on my plate. How am I going to possibly add to everything that I have going on in my life right now? How am I going to add, a holy hour? How am I going to add going to daily mass more often? How am I going to add more time for prayer? How am I going to add these good and holy and meaningful spiritual disciplines and spiritual practices? How am I going to add to this plate that already feels so full as it is? How am I going to add to it? God, what are you asking me to do? And so I came across something that's, I think, really powerful, and it really struck me, and I found it really meaningful. And it was like, yes, as soon as I heard it, it was like, yes, that's what I'm going to do for Lent this year. That's what I'm going to try to do. There's something about, when the Holy Spirit calls you to something in Lent where it's like, that's going to be hard, but not impossible. That sounds like it is going to challenge me and help me grow. But it also doesn't sound like it's going to break me, right? I'm not thinking about doing that and going, I don't think I'm going to make it through Lent. It's this sweet spot, this sort of encouragement, yet I know it's going to be hard. This inspiration, but it's going to disrupt some things in probably a good way. So what I discovered is there's a whole line of thinking, and there is a whole discipline in unlocking the possibilities that exist within spare moments, or what some people call mastering the spare moment. So in the course of any day, there's lots of odd minutes, right? There's half hour, short breaks, awkward gaps between meetings, delayed appointments. It's like you have back-to-back meetings, right? And one of them is going to start at 2:00, and the other one actually ended at 1:36 or 1:56, right? And you've got these 4 minutes. You don't have to eat. You don't have to go to the bathroom. You don't have to do anything. It's like, well, what am I going to do with these 4 minutes? Or you're sitting in a doctor's office and you have an appointment for 2:00, and it's 2:01, 2:02, 2:03, 2:04, 2:05, 2:06, 2:07, and you're like, what am I going to do for these 7 minutes of when this doctor is late and I am sitting here? I'm just sitting here waiting. Or what happens when you've got to drop your kid off somewhere and it doesn't make any sense to drive all the way back home when you've got to go get another kid from another spot, or when the time it takes to get there, get settled, get everybody packed back up, go back out to go pick the other kid back up again. It's like, it doesn't make it worth it to go home and resettle. It's like, well, what do you do with that half hour that your kid's in a music class? Or what do you do with those 35, 40 minutes that they're in basketball practice? What do you do with that time? In our common language, we say that what we do with that time is that we kill it. We treat short bursts of time and awkward moments as time to kill. You're stuck where you are and you're not going to go home, and you got to wait for your kids, whatever, to end. You say, I've got 20 minutes to kill. It's like you call a friend of yours and they're like, hey, what's up? Everything okay? And you're like, yeah, I just got 20 minutes to kill, so I thought I'd call you. Or you open up your phone and you, I don't know, catch up on text messages, browse social media, watch a show, listen to some sort of superfluous podcast, or engage in any number of distracting measures. When you have a chance, when you have a spare moment, our natural inclination is to kill it. But for those who've achieved greatness in most fields, those spare moments are actually opportunities to create steady momentum toward personal transformation. Oftentimes, these odd hours, odd minutes, odd moments throughout the day, they rack up. They rack up to 40, 50, 60 minutes over the course of a day. And 1 hour a day, even if it happens in chunks, if you spend 1 hour a day leveraging spare moments toward a specific cause, that will enable anyone of ordinary capacity to master most things. Just 1 hour a day can, in 10 years, turn a bad writer into a good one, an ill-informed citizen into an expert, a sinner into a living saint. How many priceless seconds do I waste each day, each day, numbing my mind, distracting my heart, avoiding the things that must be done? How many times do I kill the spare moment without even realizing what it is I'm actually killing? What is underutilizing this spare moment or wasting this spare moment actually costing me? What is it actually costing you? When we waste time, it means that we waste energy, we waste vitality, we waste ensuring the strengthening of our character. In fact, when we waste those times, we actually ensure the dissipation of personal character. Even more than that, wasting that time means increasing the chances that when an important moment comes to do the thing that God is calling you to do, I'll miss it or be unable to rise to the occasion of it because I haven't put the time in to prepare for it, to build toward it. One of the things I've been thinking about is like forgiveness. Right? Like, what if I oriented all of my spare moments toward becoming a great forgiver? And I used all of my spare moments toward thinking, praying, reading, meditating, considering, and trying to practice forgiveness in small ways and in big ways toward people that wrong me or difficult situations or whatever. So that when I really, really need it, when I really, really need to be merciful, when a big moment comes and I need to reach down and get past all of my own stuff and pull mercy out of nowhere because God's calling me to it, I'll be able to because I spent my spare moments building up the inner capacity to do it. When we leverage our spare time toward something good, toward what God is inviting us to, we actually give God the chance to redeem our time and build within us the man or woman God made us to be. Now, all of this is sort of like theoretical or whatever, right? So let's talk about tangible examples, real, solid, tangible examples. St. Paul. What did St. Paul do in his spare moments? What did St. Paul want to do? St. Paul wanted to be one with Christ. He wanted to say, it is not I who lives, but Christ who lives in me. So what did St. Paul do with all of his spare moments? He constantly was praying, right? He was constantly engaging in a relationship with Jesus. He leveraged his spare moments for prayer. Darwin wrote most of his work. Most of the famous Darwinian theory he wrote on scraps of paper in the unexpected spare moments of his days. He was known to never go anywhere without a writing utensil, and he would find whatever it is he could to write on and write on it. And that's how he wrote his stuff. Physicist Michael Faraday conducted all of his early experiments. He's one of the most prolific experimenters and one of the great scientists of his age. And he conducted his early experiments, some of his most famous experiments, in the spare moments while doing his day job, binding books. Mozart wrote his famous, maybe arguably his most famous piece of work, Requiem, on his deathbed in the spare moments of suffering and treatment and visits. My favorite movie writer, Aaron Sorkin, he wrote A Few Good Men, the classic, on cocktail napkins while bartending on Broadway while the curtain was up. The present moment, however it presents itself, is the raw material out of which we become who we will be. God, of course, never gives but a single moment at a time, and every moment is meant to be leveraged for your good, for my good. It doesn't mean like, oh, I got to be productive every second of every day, but it can be that these spare moments aren't times to kill. They're times to nourish. They're times to grow. They're times to be in meaningful experiences. So this Lent, it's like, Jack, what are you going to do for Lent? This Lent, I am going to carry a small book with me everywhere I go. Trustful surrender to divine providence. I'm going to carry it with me everywhere I go. So instead of spending my spare moments scrolling, obsessing, ruminating, watching, listening, I'm going to take this book out because this is a moment in time in my life where I need trustful surrender to divine providence. I want to get really good at trustful surrender. So I'm going to carry this book everywhere I go in every spare moment. I'm going to take it out. Whether I end up reading one sentence, 3 sentences, 10 pages, I'm going to read. I'm going to spend those spare moments trying to become like the psalmist who says, oh, how I love thy law, O Lord. It is my meditation all day long. So it's my hope this Lent to surrender these spare moments to the strengthening of my soul, the fortification of my mind toward a trustful surrender. And I invite you to consider how do you spend your spare moments? And what might you be missing by letting so many of them slip away? And for all you busy parents out there, what do you think? What are you going to do with your spare moments this Lent? May God bless you, and may you remember you were made to do hard things.